So we read the book Super Founders by Ali Tamaseb, and Super Founders focuses on the idea that the founders of billion-dollar companies, so-called unicorns, are no special group of individuals. Anybody can be a super founder, anybody can start a billion-dollar company. But with this book summary, we're going to analyze what are the facts and figures of these founders, what do they do, what kind of startups and companies do they focus on, so that you yourself can become a super founder. This is UExec Book Summaries, and we're going to get started. So Super Founders was written by Ali Tamaseb. He's a venture capitalist. He's originally a scientist that turned into an investor. Most of the areas that he focuses on are in healthcare, hard science, tech companies, AI, things of that nature. And so obviously he wanted to analyze thousands and thousands of companies, thousands of founders, to try to identify what are the companies that would have the most success, the highest return on investment. He's a partner at the VC fund DCVC, so it makes sense that this is a topic that he's very interested in. So obviously the book is an amazing book. It's filled with hundreds of facts and figures. We're going to cover the top 11 insights from super founders. We're going to analyze how TikTok, Slack, PayPal, Nubank from Brazil, and other startups were able to succeed. So let's go. The first insight. A lot of people think that unicorns or billion-dollar companies are started by 18-year-old geniuses that are working in their dorm, hacking away. But the reality of it is that the average age of a super founder is 34 years of age. Typically, these are experienced individuals. They've worked for a number of years, and the range is anywhere between 18 years of age to 64 years of age. So there's no perfect age to start a unicorn or billion-dollar company. You can always start it at any point in your life. The other thing that Ali realized is that about 20% of these billion-dollar companies are started by a single founder. Perfect example, Michael Dell with Dell Computers, Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, so on and so forth. The vast majority, 30% of them, are founded by two individuals. So two co-founders come together, start a company. Perfect example, Apple, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak. Even though Bill Fernandez introduced them, he was not one of the founders. So it's not a three-founder company, but really those are the two main founders. And obviously the rest of the unicorns, 50% or so companies that remain are started with three co-founders or more. Perfect example of this is Alibaba. Alibaba, I think when it started, had like 10 co-founders. There's a very famous video of it. You can go watch yourself when Jack Ma is speaking to all of them in a room filled with people. Insight number 3, going back to the age topic, when Jet.com started, one of the founders was 42 years old. When Workday was started, one of the founders was 64 years old. Case in point, age really doesn't matter. In fact, the more experienced you are in the industry, the more likely you are to start a billion-dollar company. 50% of the founders of these billion-dollar companies have a business background. The other 50% have a background that's focused in the space that the company is in. So for example, a tech company, Ali realized that 50% of these founders have a business background, and then the other 50% have a tech background. Now, if you go into hard science, like for example, artificial intelligence, space, hardware, all that kind of amazing stuff, 75% of the founders have experience in that particular field. 25% don't, which makes sense. Perfect example is Compass. Compass, which is a tech-enabled real estate company, when the two founders came together to start Compass, they had zero experience in real estate. I think the mother of one of the founders was a real estate agent, but besides that, the founders themselves had no experience. So that means you don't have to be a super genius in any particular field when you start a billion-dollar company, except for the hard sciences. Let's go into a case study. Let's look at Nubank in Brazil. It's one of the largest fintech companies in Brazil right now, extremely successful. When it was founded, each of the founders had experience in a different field. One was an iBanker, so they had experience in investing from a banking point of view, acquisitions, etc. The other one had a lot of local banking experience, so they came together to start a new bank. Case in point, typically the founders don't have the same experience. They have diverse set of experiences, and together they're almost like a yin and a yang, and they come together to create an amazing idea. Although the likelihood of a successful billion-dollar company is a 0.1%, as a founder, you have many shots on goal. So you might start a company, and a second company, they might fail. The third one might be a success. Or you start a company that's amazing failure in one particular industry, but you go to a different industry and you're like a success. Case in point, insight number 8, Slack. Slack, which is a billion-dollar company, it's a communications platform used in corporate settings, startups, whatever it may be. Slack started as a failed video game. It was called Glitch, but they soon realized that in the game, or in the gaming platform, or whatever it was, the communication was extremely important, and the gamers really enjoyed the communication that the Glitch was offering to them. So then, boop, comes Slack. Case in point, failure, pivot, success. And the same occurred with PayPal. So we have the little diagram here of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. PayPal started as a payment processing tool for PDAs, which are these old school bricks that predate the smartphone, that are kind of like a Kindle and an iPad morphed together. PayPal started with this failed type of product in the PDA space, but they were very quick to realize that they should move over to the online space and try to help with online transactions, because back then, auction website eBay, the buyers and sellers were mailing each other cash in envelopes through the US Postal Service. So when PayPal switched from PDAs to online, it became not an overnight success, but they started getting some traction. For the most successful billion-dollar companies, they did go through many failures. Most investors will characterize your product or idea or company as a painkiller versus a vitamin. What do I mean? A painkiller solution is one where your end customer has such a pain point that constantly has a headache and wants a solution to it. Painkillers are better investments. They're better companies, they're better products. Why? Because your customer already wants it without knowing, and maybe they do know that they want it, but there's no solution out there. Let's say, for example, electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, the consumer wanted a product that was environmentally safe. They could already go from point A to point B, but perhaps they had preference to having an electric car that's already fully charged every morning. Or for example, I think Lyft started as a college transportation company, and then Lyft, being a college transport service between students helping students, moved on to being like an Uber type of product. And that was a perfect transition because consumers wanted a cheaper, less expensive, easier way to transact with taxis and so on and so forth. So that was a painkiller solution. TikTok is an amazing vitamin. What's a vitamin? A vitamin is a product that slightly improves the experience of some consumer workflow, some business workflow. Videos already existed online, but when TikTok came in, they took it to the next level. That would be seen as a vitamin type of company, but the consumers loved it so much that it became a success. So it doesn't mean that just because you're a vitamin that you're gonna have a less likelihood of success. It just means that investors typically tend to go towards painkillers, especially hard science investors, because they want technologies that enable a new thing